In the first section of this video, you were introduced to the anole lizards of the Caribbean islands, and they explained that they kind of fell into 4 different body types, and we call those body types ecomorphs. You started this activity by sorting out 8 pictures. You're going to see 16 pictures here. You had 2 anoles from each of the ecomorphs that they described, and as we look through these, you can kind of see if your groupings were similar to what you saw in this video. So the 4 different types that they explained in here, we have some grass bush anoles. Those are these that live low down in the grass and the shrubbery. They tend to be very little and skinny with long legs, a really long tail. The second type are the trunk ground anoles. You can see they are all on trunks of wood. They also have relatively long legs. They're more brownish in color, a little bit wider, larger bodies, not quite as long of a tail. The third type were the twig anoles. These are the ones that have really short little legs so they can grab onto those twigs and not fall off. And the trunk crown anoles, which are bright green to blend in with those leaves. And they are larger in body size and also have those really big toe pads on their feet that help them to stick to the leaves and not fall out of the canopy of the trees. The different features of those different ecomorphs are adaptations. And adaptation is a word in evolution that's frequently misused. But the word adaptation, it's not something that an organism does. An organism, actually, one individual cannot adapt by itself. What an adaptation is an inherited trait that's beneficial to the organism's fitness. And remember, in evolutionary terms, fitness means its ability to survive and reproduce. So think about how natural selection works. Remember, it starts with mutations, just the fact that every individual is a tiny bit different. The mutation part is completely random. Individuals can't control the mutations that happen in their DNA. There are just these random mistakes and changes that happen. But some of those, just by luck, might give the organism a little bit of an advantage in terms of survival or reproduction. Those are the mutations that will then be selected for and passed on to the next generation and will become more and more common within that population. So those are the ones that we call adaptations. Adaptations are beneficial mutations that spread throughout a population and result in these features like larger toe pads in the canopy that help these organisms to survive. Because there are so many ways that organisms can adapt to little bits of their environment and their habitat, and it's so specific to their little place, we see this as an example of a process called adaptive radiation. Radiation means kind of spreading out. Adaptive radiation is the formation of many species with adaptations that allow them to fill different ecological niches. If you remember that last term, this kind of connects back to ecology, which was our very first unit. An ecological niche is the specific role that an organism plays within its environment. And we describe a niche by talking about all of the different biotic and abiotic factors that an organism needs. So specifically what type of food it eats. And that's the example you see here. This is looking at something more like Darwin's finches, where we have slightly different species of finch that each specialized to eat a different type of food, so they have slightly different beaks. That's how they adapted to those slightly different niches in terms of food. But a niche can also include something like where in the vertical tree canopy those organisms live. And that's what we're looking at here with these lizards. These different ecomorphs, these different body shapes, adapted slightly differently to allow them to live in different parts of the same forest. And it allows for a greater diversity of species to live within the same region. So now go back to the case study and answer the next set of questions using what you just learned in this little bit of notes and what you saw in that section of the video.